Hello, this is Patrick. Welcome to Chart Built Wealth, Profitable Investing with Technical Analysis. Well, it was a rough day today on all my buy recommendations. Crude oil was down, I don't know, 4 or 5%. Gold was down, silver was down, but we're trying to catch the very bottom of a new significant uptrend. And so that's never easy, and you got to stick with it and you got to be nimble. And I think these things are still on the right track. And so tonight, I really want to talk about oil, crude oil. So let's get into it. I'm not going to show the longer term charts and the big picture and the fact that we're going into a third of a third wave, but I'll attach it here and you can watch it for more detail. And I encourage you to do that so you have an idea. But this is short term. This is a daily chart. Each one of these candlesticks represents a day of price action. And this is crude oil, WTIC. And so here's the big first, here was our correction into the bottom of wave two. And now we're going into a big third wave, which is going to have five waves in it. One, I believe this is the low for two, and then we'll get a third of a third, which will be really something to behold. And then we'll get a fourth wave, which will probably be a sideways corrections, maybe slightly down. And then we'll get another poke higher for a fifth wave up. So today, yesterday, was it yesterday? 2 days ago. 2 days ago? Yes, 2 days ago. I talked about the bullish rainbow convergence with all these moving averages coming together. Actually, it was about 4 days ago, and I talked about the fact that we had a bullish rainbow convergence, and I was expecting prices to come back to that convergence. And if they hold, then that would promise a new higher high. And so I sold, as I said on the call before that night, that I sold 30% of my oil holdings and I was going to buy them back here, which is exactly what I did. And then I thought it was this morning. I think it was this morning. We broke down and we broke below, clear break below. So this made things in doubt. This was a failed pattern. And so I sold 10% of my USO is the ETF that I'm using. It tracks crude oil, and I'm going to show you that. And the only reason why I only sold 10% is because when I look at USO, we just had a slight break. We actually had not quite a bullish hammer, but there was some buying into the close. And so we didn't really have a clear break here. It was maybe a 1% decline below the rainbow convergence. And so I didn't think that was enough to warrant selling, certainly my entire position. Again, with the thought that we're going into a third of a third wave. So I sold some. And the other reason why I didn't sell more is so we're going to look at an intraday chart, and each one of these candlesticks is going to represent 2 hours of trading. And when we look at that, so we're looking at, let's go back. So we're looking at this. And here we are. So here's our advance, and here's our decline. We got Akamoto clouds that are Eastern Europe, Eastern Asian um, chartist way of doing trend lines. Instead of our rigid trend lines, they use these areas of support. But more importantly, we got a bearish rainbow convergence. One thing I know about bearish rainbow convergences is the downtrend pauses until the moving averages move down to that. That's a type 1 convergence. And a type 2 convergence is a retracement back to that rainbow convergence. So if I sold if I sold a larger part of my USO, my crude oil, and then it got a pop up to 125, 126, I'd be pretty mad. So sold a little bit just to be on the safe side. And if we go back, we're going to go back. So it's got to break through this now. The big telling tale will be it looks like we're getting a rally now because of some bombing in Iran or something. Um, so, I'm expecting it to jump back up here anyway with no news. And then, the big deciding factor is if it can get through there. If it doesn't get through there on the first 2 hours of trading, I'd probably sell another 20% at least of my holdings because if it can't break through, it promises a new lower low, which means it would go down a little bit lower. So, or to a new low. So it might go down to 115 or something. And I'd still be bullish longer term and I'd still be looking to buy again, but I would get out of this. And I'd be pretty much whole on the stuff that I purchased yesterday here. So I really wouldn't lose anything. So that's kind of that's the thought process. I'm looking at this tonight. This actually updates. USO doesn't update intraday or it's only open during market hours, but the actual crude oil index trades 24 hours and you can see it's trying to break through that rainbow convergence right now. It's up 460, 4.5% basically right now. So if you wake up in the morning and it's above that, you know that prices are have all the earmarks of something that's really going to take off. So, I thought about doing this real time online, but I really don't have enough followers to make it worthwhile. If I had 1,000, 2,000 subscribers, I'd probably do that, and I think it'd be beneficial to you for people that trade. Um, but you don't have to trade to make this to your advantage. If you bought yesterday and then today it broke down below, um, if you sold it or you sold some, if it closes, back above this tomorrow, I'd buy it back, and that's just, once we get this trend going, then you don't have to be buying and selling all the time. But this is just trying to capture, this thing could really explode. It could be up, 20% in a day. So that's why you have to be kind of nimble with this until it gets going. So that is crude oil. If crude oil is not your thing, and you just like to buy stocks, I'd be buying energy stocks. Here's Exxon, the big elephant in the room, and from every analyst that I've heard, and again, I don't pay a lot of attention to it, but Exxon seems to have all the arrows pointing in the right direction with their businesses. You've had a little bit of a pullback. You got a new bullish trend line here, and your price projection is 203. And this will not have the volatility of actual crude oil. So, in hindsight, I probably, when I initiated on crude oil, probably should have gave an alternative using Exxon or XLE as an ETF, an energy ETF. But, this is a good one. Exxon, it's got a good dividend and you'll participate. This is showing what about 30%, 25, 30% potential upside. Crude oil, has the potential to be up 100%. So, but you got a lot of volatility. So, one last thing before I go, gold and silver were down today. I was buying that aggressively. I expect the low to be tomorrow. So we'll see if that happens. And there's some reasons for that, namely a full moon tomorrow. So yes, a full moon. There's actually market technicians that chart things like that. So um, anyway, thank you for watching. Chart Built Wealth, profitable investing with technical analysis. Please like and subscribe. Tell your friends, neighbors, and family. Adios.